Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be talking with you today about a topic that, gosh, it's been a while since I've talked about this. And if you're coming into me this afternoon, you're probably been wondering where I've been a little bit over the past couple weeks since 2018 started. Like you've seen, I've been working on the back end, and there's been a lot of amazing things coming out to you guys. So I hope that you've been perusing the page and learning a little bit more about what the new Genevieve Rose, I would say that she's not really new, she's been me the whole time, but what this page is really going to be about. And so I thank all of you who've been with me. Hey, Miss Stacy, for quite a duration and been able to just stick with me till I figured out who I was. But I hope that you've been enjoying the page. Thank you, Stacy. I really love it too. It's been a very long time with bangs not being a part of the equation, but I have to say I've been liking them a lot. So if you're tuning in with me and you're not quite sure who I am, my name is Genevieve Rose. If you're watching me on the replay, or if someone shared this out with you, I welcome you to my community. And I wanted to share with you that I fully believe that my role, my hope, my belief is that I'm meant to lead and empower really legit entrepreneurs. And when I say legit, yes, I am going back to MC Hammer and saying that they're too legit to quit. They are entrepreneurs that just keep on keeping it on, keep pushing it forward to be able to get out into the world what they want to get out into the world, and to be able to provide them training and sales strategies specifically, because that's what makes me excited, to be able to move on forward in their entrepreneur, in who they are as a business owner, so that they can be the world changers, the game changers that are going to take business to the next level. So I'm so excited to be sharing with you all today something that I feel really passionate about, and is actually learning from our past. I think it comes a little bit from being raised by my grandparents to Depression era young people who just were too legit to quit, a type of people. But to be able to share a little bit with you about sales in the past and what we can learn from that. A lot of times today, hi Angie, I think I saw Angie pop a little heart there. A lot of times in the past, I would say I've heard people talk about like, oh, you don't want to do any of those past sales practices. And so the reason that I'm sharing this as one of the first series of free sales training that I'm offering is because I want to tell you that that's wrong. I want to tell you that it's super important that we learn from the past. It's super important that we take those things from past sales practices and we move them into today, because we are still driving cars. We're just not driving Model Ts. And so I want to be just really honest and upfront that I'm going to share with you these past sales eras for the purpose of you learning from the past. Angie's my girl from the past, right? To be able to move yourself forward in yourself as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur, as someone who has a business that has products and services that you want to sell. So I want to talk about this era of sales called pre-choice. It's pretty much like the first founding era of sales. And if you feel like this is something that you have friends that are in sales industries that they could benefit from learning a little bit about this, please share this out with them. I'd really appreciate that. But basically the pre-choice era of sales, and if you know me by now, you know that I got to have note cards when I talk, because I want to make sure I get all the points across for everybody. But basically the pre-choice era of sales was basically when money was invented. We were no longer nomads trading things, that sort of thing. We actually had money that we could pay somebody for a product or service, and it was basically the invention of this pre-choice era. And pretty much from what I want us to think about, the whole peddling concept, that I'm peddling products, that's really where that came from. This pre-choice era of sales is that none of us would be in business. We wouldn't be peddling what we have if the pre-choice era wouldn't have happened. And so basically what the pre-choice era was is that you basically had no choice. Whoever came to you with that product, they were probably the only ones who had that product, and you were most likely going to buy that product from them because they were the only ones that had it. And so you can see how this era is pretty much obsolete at this stage, and we're going to talk about that in some of the future Facebook Lives that I'm doing tomorrow and on Friday at 3 o'clock. But, you know, there weren't a whole lot of competitors. You had to pretty much buy what was in front of you. And so this makes me think about the story of Paul and the Apostle Paul. I'm actually talking about the Apostle Paul. If you're not familiar with Paul's story, Paul was actually, he was a peddler. He was a peddler of tents. And if he would not have sold tents, I would probably say that Paul would not be one of the most famous apostles in the Christian faith, because that was his only way that he could get from place to place to make his way to Jerusalem. So I want to really help you kind of get an idea of what what I believe sales is such a dignified role. And if one of the most well-known apostles of all time was a salesperson, then I would say that we're in pretty good company there. So I want to ask you guys this. Feel free to put this in the comments. I want to ask you, so let me know, what can we learn from the pre-choice era of sales if we're not the only game in town anymore, right? So many of us, you know, like Angie's in genealogy, and Stacy's in budget and finance. You know, I am in sales. We're not the only acts. If you have a product, like I'm an influencer for Seiko, if I'm a Seiko fellow, or if you work for another MLM or direct sales company, most likely you're not the only game in town. Other people have those same services and same products. So what can we learn from that only game in town mentality to be able to present ourselves as potentially, I'm the only game in town for you? And so this is something that when I first started learning sales, really was like, wow, I never necessarily thought about the fact of like, I know that I want to pick a target market and people can go into training that, but how do you make yourself convey being the only game in town, but doing it in an honest way, right? And so that's where one of the things that I really strive for, and I feel like you're going to see a lot more of it here on our page, is to tell me what makes you unique, what makes your business unique, what makes your business model unique, what really is that uniqueness factor. And you might have a couple different uniqueness factors that set you apart from everyone else. And that isn't necessarily your brand or your logo. And I know brand is, and Angie's saying brand yourself. So I think your brand has some of that. But I think that, what is it? What do you offer? What is the feeling that you give? What is the end results that happen? What happens after the product's been sold? So I think there's so many ways that you can take this being the only game in town and kind of giving your customer, hey, Miss Ivy, giving your customer this feeling of like, I have no choice but to buy this from Ivy Nelson because she is the only game in town that is this unique about this, and I would only go to her. And so I want to really stress that this is the era of sales that when you look back to where there was no choice, there was no competition, how do you create yourself towards your customers and your clients to be that person that they say, you know what, I have no choice. I'm only going to her, or I'm only going to him. And so what will give your potential customer is that feeling of, I have no other choice, in a dignified and elevated way. Like I'm sure the Apostle Paul, when he sold his tents, they felt that same way about going to him. So I want to really stress that this is what I feel I've learned a lot from looking at the pre-choice era of like basically someone just knocking and saying, hey, this is all I got. That's all they got. That was all they had. They didn't go into how do they make themselves unique because they didn't have to. So I want to really talk a little bit more about how do you make yourself unique. I feel my sense of humor makes me unique. Angie, that's so good. So one of the things that I've been really excited about, and you're going to see a little bit more of it here on the page, is this like basically weirdly authentic person that I am. I'm going to be sharing with you more of kind of who I am and what I'm about, because if you invited me to dinner, if we sat at a dinner table, I would probably be the most normal and most weird person and be able to understand anybody at your table because of my life experiences, because I'm just weirdly authentic that way. And I'll dig more into that. But Angie, I love that because your sense of humor is completely something that your customers will be like, you know, some of these things with genealogy are kind of heavy, right? Some of those things can pull up some emotions, maybe grief or maybe like surprises that they never even knew, right? And having a sense of humor, having a quick wit could be something that could completely transform that relationship with your client to make it that, you know what, that was a hard thing, but Angie made it feel so light and fun, right? So completely, that's something that you could totally use as one of your unique factors. So I think that it can feel overwhelming. So tell me if I'm wrong about this. It can feel overwhelming for a lot of us to be able to discover how we can give that first class experience, right? When we see so many other people are doing what we're doing, right? Weirdly authentic. I love this. Angie, I knew that you would get that with me, girl. Hey, Miss Christina. So we're talking about the pre-choice era of sales and what we can learn as far as being the only game in town. And that's what the pre-choice era was all about because there was no competition. How can we now make ourselves that create those unique pieces of our business that then allow us to be that only game in town for our specific clientele? So I do think that this can feel overwhelming when we're trying to create this first class experience. We're trying to create this unique feel and figure out what those are, and be able to look not at these other people that have similar products and similar marketing and so forth. How do we still look unique in that? So I want you to tell me honestly, do you ever struggle with knowing how to be known and seen as weirdly authentic? So I'm going to use that. Honest and genuine. Okay, I want to be really, really transparent here because I think this is something that a lot of salespeople struggle with and they don't speak about it. So do you ever feel like it's hard to be honest and genuine, or not just a peddler? Okay, not just a peddler of some products. And so if you ever struggle with that, I would love for you to put a 1 in the comments. If you've never struggled with that, then kudos to you. This is going to be just something that maybe you know somebody in your life you could share it with that is struggling with that. But if you ever struggle with just feeling that way, I want to know about that because so we can learn from that pre-choice era of sales and how we can do things today. So how do we learn how to do this, right? We do, right? We do. We do the work to discover how to share our uniqueness, how to create first-class level experiences, and how to present ourselves in an honest and genuine way as the only choice in town. All right, the only choice for who we want to speak to. And so that goes into what's your why? What are your values of your business? Because those are the people that are going to connect to you, all right, and feel that weirdly authentic, amazing humor that is only unique to you. Angie says, fear of rejection is real. That holds me back sometimes from being honest and genuine. Totally. Fear of rejection is so big. And that's such a huge piece of being an entrepreneur. If you have a product or service, I feel like so many people don't talk about this. They say about building a relationship, but they don't talk about the fact that you at the end of the day are trying to build a business that makes money, and being able to take what you know about your product, be intentional and in the moment with someone, be genuine in the moment, can sometimes feel like it's a really hard thing because you know that you have something that you could offer them to help them and you don't want to look disgenuine, but you do want to offer this thing to them because you feel that it would help them, right? So the whole time you're kind of thinking like, oh, they might say no, and if they say no, then that's going to change our relationship, right? And so I want to just really express to you all that this is where that pre-choice era of we actually have a more creative opportunity than those first salespeople ever did to create ourselves as being unique, first class, the only game in town, because we have the opportunity to share our intentions. So how can I help you all with this, right? Because you've been probably following my page a little bit, seeing that I'm offering some things, but I am offering over the next 2 weeks. So this week is halfway here. So halfway over, the next week and a half, an open call for free one-on-ones of like an inner influencer chat. And basically all that is that it's a free time for you and I to sit together, see if I would be a sales trainer for you, someone that you would like to work with, but kind of talk about what is this uniqueness? What are these unique factors in your business? And how do you take them and not just market them? Because marketing is important, but I need to stress, and you might have seen the interview that I just did with Christina Menza, who's a postpartum doula. She's a placenta specialist. She's also a Seiko fellow. Talk about how knowing, like that she was selling more than her logo. So she was doing more than she needed to do more than marketing. She also needed to learn sales. Marketing and sales is like one of the biggest arguments of all time in a lot of corporate cultures is like marketing does their thing, sales does their thing. I want to tell everybody marketing and sales, they go hand in hand. They need each other. And so if you know your marketing, if you've been spending a whole lot of time learning marketing, now I want to tell you it's time to learn sales, because once you learn the two, your relationships, no matter what they are, can be super intentional, and you can share that uniqueness that makes you the only game in town. So I'm doing these free inner influencer chats that you can sign up for until February 4th. So it's a limited time, and I'm only taking a limited number of clients for this first quarter of 2018 to be able to dive really deep into their sales strategy. So if you want to have a couple moments with me to talk over like, hey, this is what I've been doing, this is where I feel I'm unique, how can I create a strategy around that, then take advantage of these free inner influencer chats, because they're only open for the next week and a half. Angie, thank you so much. She says, highly encourage folks to take Jenna up on her offer. She's awesome to talk to and will point you in the right direction. Best part is that it's free. Yes, and so I really appreciate Angie. Angie is growing leaps and bounds. I'm so stoked for her. You're going to see more of Angie here on my page, so I want to feature her. She was one of my clients from the last part of last year, and she is just doing amazing things with helping you stay rooted in your history, learning from your personal past, which is so exciting. So as soon as she gets some of those DNA things going, we're gonna be rolling with that. But if you want to set up a free chat, I'm going to put the link here in the comments. It's also on my page. Set up for one, because I think that was the big eye-opener for me when I look at the pre-choice era is like, gosh, we get such a great opportunity to create an experience for our customers that says to them at the end of the day, you know what? They're my only choice. So I love you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a gentleman and watching this, if you think this was helpful to learn a little bit about the pre-choice era of sales and what we need to learn from our past in our professions, please share it out. And hey, have a beautiful and blessed day. Talk to y'all soon.